So welcome everybody, in person and virtual, to the second part of the 2024 WHRI Summer Scholar Series. My name is Paul Yong, Assistant Director at the WHRI. Sorry I can't join in person today as I'm away on vacation. I'd like to first acknowledge that the WHRI operates on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Further, this acknowledgement, gratitude, and respect extends to all the First Nations communities on whose traditional territories the WHRI builds relationships. Next slide. This series is part of the WHRI Strategic Framework for Trainees and Mentorship, which includes students that join us for the summer on the Children's and Women's Campus. Next slide. So I'm excited to introduce our speaker today, Sabina Dobrer, P.Stat, which means accredited as a professional statistician by the Statistical Society of Canada, and is a senior statistician with the WHRI. Sabina has over 20 years of experience in the area of social policy and health research. She's interested in the advancement of epidemiologic and clinical research by development and support of innovative methods and by providing statistical consultations related to the design of complex data sets, sophisticated algorithm applications, and non-standard statistical analysis. Sabina. Sorry, I should just note that the third part of the series is in August. Will be, again, Sabina Bora-Miller, and will be on science communication, particularly to the public. Next slide. And finally, here is our information if you wish to connect with us. Okay, thank you.
Hi all, thank you for coming to this presentation. So I think if I ask anyone in the room or online what is data visualization, the answer will be very different. You probably find common words and explanations, but each person understands data visualization in a different way. So I thought a lot about what to do with the data presentation, and I decided to do my personal approach to data visualization. As I'm not expert in data visualization, there are actually people that paid a lot of money to do data visualization, and I'm a statistician. I'm using data visualization as a tool to help me analyze the data. So basically, what I'm going to do today during our lecture, I define data visualization the way I understand it. After that, I'll show you some very simple data visualizations that can be used in research to do simple things to understand your data, to present your data, to validate your data. And I give several examples of really cool, in my opinion, data visualizations that actually tells a story, and I explain how through the sophisticated but simple data visualization, you can actually engage the people you're presenting for or you want to share your results for, and to tell appealing story only with one slide. So basically, first what I did, I went and I Googled data visualization. And for some reason on my computer, the first website that popped up was IBM. We all know that IBM involved a lot of data management, governance, and they have a lot of different data tools. So basically, this is how they define the data visualization. Data visualization is the representation of data through use of common graphics such as charts, plots, infographic, and even animation. Those visual displays of information communicate complex data relations and data-driven insights in the way that it's easy to understand. So because they're trying to sell, I guess, their data product, what is important for them is to say data-driven insight to easy understand information. And after that, they elaborate. So what data, in their opinion, what data visualization can be used for? It's idea generation, idea illustration, and visual discovery. So basically, they say data visualization can help us to brainstorm different ideas. We can communicate our ideas with teams and stakeholders and others in our environment. And visual discovery helps data professionals identify patterns, trends, while everyday data visualization supports storytelling after new insights are found. So the next one that popped up on my Google search was Tableau. We all know that Tableau software specialized actually in data visualization. So to build dashboards, or it helps you to review your data for outliers and visualize your data in different ways. So the definition of that data visualization is a little bit similar to IBM, but also a little bit different. So based on Tableau, data visualization is the graphical representation of information and data. By using visual elements like charts, graphs, here they added maps. The IBM didn't have maps because in Tableau you actually can do maps. Data visualization tool provide an accessible way to see and understand trend, outliers, and patterns of data. Here we see that data visualization definition is a bit different. Why? Because their main product is to sell visualization tools that actually help you to analyze data. It's why for them it's very important to emphasize trends, outliers, and patterns. They also explain a little bit more. They say in their for their point of view, the data visualization should be clear. Clarity is very important. It's provide an excellent way to employers or businesses present data for non-technical auditorium, because it's actually what their product built for, like with the building proper dashboard, like we remember during COVID, almost all like VCCDC, Hopkins, everyone has a dashboard with COVID data, and it was presented for general population. And they also say the data visualization is essential, especially in the world with big data, where we have data coming to us from different places. There is a lot of data. So they say the data visualization tools and techniques are essential to analyze a lot of data. It helps you to understand big data with really simple way. And they also say what are disadvantages and advantages of data visualization. Data visualization leverage our natural attraction to colors. So basically they say it should be appealing and nice to look on. And the disadvantage, the data visualization can lead to inaccurate assumption in biased design. So basically they say if we didn't present our data in correct and appealing way, it may be mislead us for a message we didn't want to show on our visualization. So next slide, I'm going to tell what does the visualization, the way I understand it. So basically, my favorite explanation of data visualization is from this book. It's a very cool book. I really recommend you to read. And it's called The Truthful Art. Basically, the author of the book is a journalist named Cairo, and is written as before, like a paragraph for his book, like it's written that Cairo set the standard on how data should be understood, analyzed, is presented. In his book, it's both a manifesto and a manual for how to use data. And here we can see different words: accurately, clearly, engagingly, imaginatively, beautifully, and reliably. Because he's a journalist and he comes from a bit different perspective, not from the field of data, for him it's also important that data visualization will be some element of image, beauty, but everything else is kind of consistent with definitions from Tableau and IBM, because it says it should be accurate, clear, and to present information correctly. Here on the same slide, you see flow of infographic. So basically in his book, he said that his 8-year-old daughter came to him once and say, "Oh, Dad, explain me why the planets continue to spinning all the time." As she was only 8 years old, it was hard for him to explain her in physics concept. So he went and drew this like cool pictures coming after another, showing basically angular and linear momentum. And based through this that visualization, he tried to explain to her why planets continue to spinning. So he was, based on his book, he was really happy with the result. And after that, what happened after that, his daughter said, "Oh, I understand now why planet is spinning, but why we not falling out of the earth when we're spinning?" So she basically asked additional question. So on this slide, you can see on the right, it's I just went to ChatGPT and said, oh, what is data visualization for you? And this is what ChatGPT brought to me. For me personally, it's a lot of information. It's very colorful, but I would not consider this image representing that visualization. But I can give you the summary from the book I mentioned. What is important aspects of data visualization from the author? You need first to get information right. Being concise and clear does not imply oversimplification. So basically, he says you can present information in a very simple way, but you shouldn't oversimplify it. It still should include some meaningful information. Good design is all about structuring information to enable understanding. And because he's a journalist, he said the aesthetic appeal is worth a goal. So it also should be kind of clear and beautiful. He also says the graphic encode information and can be seen as cognitive aid. So it helps us to understand the world around us, and help us our cognitive aids. And he also says that it's very important to connect words with data visualization. So he basically says that words are sometimes useless by themselves. So is data visualization. So if we put it on separately, we might not present our message correctly, but only when we combine word, story, and visual makers, we create something magical and help others to understand our way of thinking. So here, after his daughter asked him about next question, he introduced, in the chapter, he introduced this interesting concept. And here is another book. This is a book for famous physicists. So basically, the book is about how science and search of answer, what is the meaning? So basically, main point of his citation in his book, when we find answer for some question, we always ask additional question to try to find more information. And he referred to it as the island of knowledge. So basically, he says there is an island of knowledge, but around the island of knowledge is shoreline of wonder. So basically, we collect the information, we collect the knowledge, but there always will be some part of the world that it's wonder. We're not aware what happening there. And he says, basically, we can enlarge the island of knowledge. We can gather more information and answer more questions, but we still have something that's very unknown. So based on the questions that the daughter asked the author about, like why people not falling out of the earth, he said this is exactly what his infographic from the previous graph showed, that he explained one concept, but based on understanding one specific concept, his daughter asked additional questions. So she understood the information, but she also said, oh, it's very cool, but what about? So this is, I think, very important aspect of data visualization, because it's not only show what we learned, it's also give us perspective of what additional question we can ask in the future based on what we already learned. So basically, he says here in the book that good data visualization communicate information. As a result, increases our understanding of our surrounding. Graphics may also prompt exploration and revealed information to ask new questions. And he also says the graphic may tell compelling story, but it also can invite to explain, as he said, shoreline of wonder in the ways that creator didn't predict. So you can show someone your data visualization, but you never know which questions the people that look at your data visualization may ask. So basically, those slides summarize what data visualization is for me. You need to have great data, consistent data to present your information. You need to present it in the way of storylines that the people you're presenting it for can understand easily from your image what you're trying to say, but it also should bring additional question to the people you share the information. They say, oh, I see it, but, and ask additional questions. So basically, in my opinion, data visualization is a very great tool to ask questions and move our research or knowledge about our surroundings forward. So here I go to something very simple. If you listen to my lecture about data, I introduce what it's called data cycle. So basically data goes from planning, collection, checking and assuring, describing, preserving, till we got to the final product. We analyze data and share it. So I think where data visualization would feel in research in the stages of assure describe. So basically we get the data and what we want to validate the data, and simple data visualization can be in the studies or in the research can be a really good tool to understand our data and visualize it simple way. Also, it's very good tool when you do exploratory analysis. So we already cleaned our data, but now before you be doing sophisticated model and can decide what to do, we want to do exploratory analysis to explore our data for trends and for other concepts. So this is a very good point to use data visualization. And of course, data visualization is our final product. We did our research, we did our analysis, and we want publish paper or abstract or present it. We use some kind of visualization tool to present our data to viewers. So here I'm basically, because this scholar series, I give example of simple, very simple and very easy done data visualizations that can be used for different software packages. Doesn't matter what you use, R, SAS, Python, you can build this. So first on the left, it's histogram with kernel or normal density plot. I love kernel density plot. So what kernel density plot is mean? It's basically smoothing technique. So you have this histogram of your data, you calculated frequencies and you created a histogram of your data, but you can do kernel density. So basically it will show you smoothing technique for your data distribution, how it look. And you can also plot over it the normal distribution. Because for example, when we do analysis for some of the models, it's very important for us to know if data distributed normally to include this in the model. And this tool can help us to understand if data is normally distributed. For example, in this case, we can see some peaks in 0.30 and 37, but it's still very close to normal with the bit left skewing, and the graph show what it is. And it's up to you to decide if it's enough for you to see it as normal distribution. In addition, you can do additional test of the data that actually will check data for normality. Another one very simple tool is scatter plot. I personally use it a lot. So scatter plot will show you relationship between two variables and also point out correlation of outliers. And I plotted here for I found in one of the sites. It's showing here where I found it. So basically it show for different scatter plots. So you have scatter plot with strong positive and strong negative relationship on top, and weak positive and negative relationship. In this case, what strong positive relationship would mean is that points distributed for different data points distributed around linear representation of the data very well. So they all very close to the mean, very close to our trend line. If our data points are more dispersed, it will be still some kind of positive correlation because we see that points going from the left corner up or from left corner down. But relationship, it's not so strong because you have a lot of variation between your points. This, for example, is very important when you try to analyze linear relationship or decide in the model and see how data is correlated. For example, from my personal experience, I helped one group to do a method section for Catalyst grant, and then brought me several papers about ultrasound angle measures. And all papers showed the relationship is linear. But actually, when I looked on the scatter plot in the papers, you could see that relationship is not so linear. It's more like circle distribution. And it's very understandable that ultrasound angles can be represented as circle distribution. So actually, I said I propose them not to do linear regression, but actually when they collect the data, the final analysis will be not to use linear relationship, but actually circle distribution, and there is mathematical and statistical way to build circle distribution model. So on the far right corner, with the blue scatter plot is also a very good tool to identify outliers. So we can see that mostly points represent a very strong, relatively strong or very strong positive relationship, but there are 2 points that outside. So those are our outliers. And for example, for some of the models, some of the outliers can bias our results. And at this point, we need to decide what we do with the outliers. So we can exclude outliers and include outliers and do 2 different analyses, what we call sensitivity analysis, to compare results. So for example, if outliers skew your model and give you completely different results, it means they're affecting your model, and it's better to continue without them. Or you can also explain who are the people with the outliers. Additional, because it's like a data cleaning stage, you can check. For example, I work with a kidney eGFR data. So usually GFR data cannot be approximately more than 120. For kids, it can be a little bit more. So if I can see eGFR of 500, it tells me that there is the error in the data because it's not plausible value, and I can decide is excluded, or maybe I can get back to patient chart or contact data provider and ask validation about those records. So, and here's like the same tools I showed in previous slide. You actually can use the same tools to present the data in the paper. So those figures from the paper I was authored on. It's about CMV infection and kidney transplantation. So the first 2 plot on the left, it's actually kernel density smoothing, but without showing the histogram. So we showed kernel density distribution for 4 different risk factors for CMV infection to see when CMV infection started after the transplant, time of CMV viremia onset. And we can see, for example, for the first red group, D plus, R plus, the offset was very fast. So they had infection almost right away after transplant. But those on population levels that have the donor negative and were recipient negative, they almost didn't have CMV infection because it's a community transmission, and it took them longer time to get the infection. And second figure doing the same with other risk factor groups. And on the right, basically, we wanted to look relationship between 2 viral load measures, CMV viral load and area under curves that combine duration and viral load in one integral variable, and we just wanted to see what's the relationship. So we built basic scatter plot with trend line to show how those 2 are related. So basically the same tools can be used as a data exploration, but you can beautify them a little bit more, and it can be a good tool to present in your paper. So now, for example, we did our data validation, we cleaned our data, identify all our outliers, make all the decision, and we go into next stage of analysis. For example, here I decided we're going to do linear model. And for linear model, there's a lot of assumption actually that we need to check. And actually the same simple graph, I'm very conservative person, like whatever I like, I will use a lot. So basically, same visualization can help us to check linear regression assumption. So on the left corner, you can see the same scatter plot. So basically, scatter plot, if I plot actual data, scatter plot can help me to understand if I have linear relationship between 2 variables or not. Because if there is no linear relationship, linear model probably not the best model for me to apply, and I need to think about other types of model or decide if at all I can do analysis on this data. Additional assumptions that we can check with linear regression, it's homozydicity assumption. If you listen to one of my lunch and learn lessons, we talk about homozydicity. So basically, it's your variance. If you build your linear model and you have your linear regression line, how far away from the line your dots are. So if you have a lot of variation and your variance increasing in the time with the time, it means that the assumption of homozydicity is not held, and technically your results from linear regression can be biased. The only thing here, you're not plotting the actual data, you're plotting a scatter plot, you're plotting the residuals for linear model run, and you need to be sure that there is no homozydicity in the residuals. And what is residuals? Residuals basically, it's your actual data, whatever you predicted. So when you run linear regression, your line is your regression output, and it's your relationship, predicted relationship, and your actual data is what you have. So difference between your actual data, a linear representation at each point will give you the residuals. And for linear regression, it's very important to check that there is no homozydicity, that there is no issue with residuals. Additional way you can check linear regression assumption, it's assumption of multivariate Norman. So basically, each linear regression analysis assumes that the residuals are normally distributed. Yes, so what you do, you calculated your residuals, you plot histogram with normal distribution. It says histogram with Gaussian fit, Gaussian it's normal, and you can see, so if you residuals are normally distributed, I mean, you don't have any problem and you can report your linear regression results. In addition, you can use QQ plot for checking like residual normality assumption or any data normality assumption, and you can do a normality test, and usually the most common sense that everyone learns at school is Kolmogorov-Smirnov test on normality. So here I would like to explain you what is QQ plot. It's very simple data visualization tool. Basically what it does, it's compare quartiles from sample data with quantiles from normal distribution. So usually on x-axis, any program will plot theoretical quantiles from normal distribution data, and on y-axis, it will be our actual quantiles. And we want to see if relationship between those two is normal. So on the left side, when relationship is normal, you can see the dots are very close on the same line. It means more or less the distribution is normal. When on the right side, the distribution is not normal because in the beginnings it's very far from the line, and on the other side it's very far away from the line. So it means our distribution is skewed, and we need to decide what to do. We can do transformation or exclude variable from analysis or make any other decision. So this shows us that we can use the same tools or additional tools when we check data in data cleaning process, but those can help us also explore our data and help us to check this, assumption for different distributions. I think linear regression is one of the regressions that has actually a lot of assumption. So we use it a lot in statistical analysis, but actually this is regression where a lot of things you need to check before you actually run in regression. For example, if you take logistic regression, there is almost no assumption for logistic regression. I think there is one that you kind of can check. So additional tool to explore your data. This is my another very favorite plot, and if you work with me, you probably saw it a lot in the presentation I do for data exploratory analysis. It's box plot. Box plot, it's a plot that show you central tendency or variability of data. So for box plot, the distribution of the data is not very important. What it shows you central tendency. And but central tendency, it's usually our median and our mean. So what box plot shows? Box plot shows the the box plot is usually our interquartile range. Basically, it's something between 25% and 75% in distribution. In the middle, we have median line and mean is presented. And the viscous, or those like line above or below, it's usually minimum, maximum values. And how box plot usually present, it only will show you values that are 1.5 times the interquartile range. Yeah, so it's what it will show you. It's not actual. It's here very important to understand. It's not actual. Sometimes minimum and maximum of the data. It's 1.5 times of interquartile range from the quartiles. And after that, you can see in this figures that I did for some of the analysis, you don't see outliers, but if there is outliers under or above the viscous line, you will have like dots that will show you an outliers. So what is interesting about box plot that you can have two variables with similar distribution, but your box plot central tendency measures will be completely different. Or you can have two different distributions that give you same mean and median. So when you're doing the box plot, it's very important to understand from which distribution you take in the data. And this is our next slide. It's called jitter strip plot. I rarely use it because I don't think in SAS you can build it. I use SAS, but I think in R there is the package. So in SAS, I will plot for different scatter plot on one page and look for distributions of for variables, or I do scatter plot with different colors on the same plot to see the distribution. But basically on the bottom line, you will see like group 1, 2, 3, 4 and some responses. And for each of the groups, you will see like distribution of the dots. So you can see like one is like group 3, it's more concise, and group 4, there is more outliers, more like spread distribution. So what is jitter plot? Basically, it's individual data points. A jitter strip plot displays individual data points along an axis, typically for categorical variables. So it's our groups, so like division of the treatment good control group. So it's something categorical, and we plot the continuous data on the X. So it's kind of adding to random noise. So basically, it's trying to emphasize the points that points are not overlapping. So it's doing some kind of a noise around it because so you can see distribution more clear. And it helps you to understand like what this distribution of your groups is. So here, for example, I found the picture of jitter plot and box plot. We can see from the jitter plot, the distribution are completely different. But when we calculated the central tendency estimates like mean and median and interquartile range, the box plot will look exactly the same. So when we're trying to understand in our data, it's very important for us to understand both distribution of the data and also the central tendency, the central measures of our distribution. So now this is basically the basic, like most simple tools that I think very powerful and very helpful in like students' life of a simple research or paper. But now I want to show several of the more sophisticated data visualization tools that I like personally. Didn't use them a lot, but I think it's really cool visualization. So first, the visualization tool is Sankey diagram. So what is Sankey diagram? It's named under Irish captain that in the 19th century show steam engine efficiency. So he plotted some movement of the steam. He did it by pen and black and white, and it showed different types of flows and additional information, like he wrote something in it. And those plots recently become very standard in science and engineering. So you can represent heat balance, energy flow, material flow, and other like life cycles products. And it was very commonly used after about 1990. So, but the Sankey plot, called under this Cape Town name, but actually Charles Minard in 1869 did a Sankey plot in geographical context. Basically, he painted or plotted Napoleon Russian campaign. So in brown, it's Napoleon army coming towards the Moscow, and in black, after they were defeated in Moscow, how they came back. So the width of your plot, it's showing like how many people, it's proportional. So you can see that the huge army came towards the Moscow, but after that, by the end of coming back to this point in black line, not a lot of people left. So what it says us about Sankey diagram? Sankey diagram is a flow diagram that highlight changes of movement between states over the time. So it can be very useful for multi-state models or longitudinal analysis where like patient and new data, for example, going through the disease progression through different point in the disease progression. So you can again use it for different data visualizations. So basically what it's emphasizing, major transfers within the system, how something traveling through or flowing towards the system. So here's example of modern Sankey diagram. It's taken from the Economist journal. So it shows European asylum seekers application decision in 2014. They also had the same plot for 2012. I didn't put it here. So basically, they say from those cut in the beginning, like how many applications you were from different countries to Europe and where they wanted to go, like how many applications was for Germany, Sweden, and other developed countries. After that, all those applications were reviewed and a certain amount of applications was accepted or rejected. Yeah, so it flows through the system. And after application were rejected and accepted, you see the end point from which countries asylum seekers were accepted to which country. Yeah, so basically it's showing us the flow of the process. So when it can be useful for medical research, as I said, in disease progression, or for example, in the beginning of our papers, we can build a flow chart, like which participants we included from the analysis is why. You can present it a flow chart, but if there is a lot of stages or a lot of subgroups, you can present exactly the same as the Sankey plot. Additional very cool data visualization tool is called hockey stick. Why it's called hockey sticks? Because they say reassemble hockey sticks. Like everything is straight, and after that you have a peak. When hockey stick visualization can be used, it's when you have sudden change in patterns. So everything was stagnant, and suddenly something happened, and there is like a lot of change in new data. So this example is taken from the Atlantic, and this is show temperature's hemisphere, and basically two of the researchers did an analysis and they reconstruct the planet past temperature starting from year 1000 till modern age. And what it says that approximately for 1900 year, like 20th century, everything was stagnant. Yeah, and they present different reconstruction, I think, based on different systems. So you have different lines and also probably some confident intervals. But they say in the beginning of 20th century, something changed and temperature suddenly went up. So basically, it's why it's hockey stick, because it shows sudden change in the pattern. So it can be used in global temperature. It can be used in economics. For example, if you can have sudden change in stock exchange, something change dramatically, this will be a good representation. It also can be used, I think, in health science. For example, we had COVID in 2000. So some diseases or some population were affected more. And if we plot the hockey stick plot, we might see if there is a sudden change due to policy change or the event. So additional data visualization tools that can be repurposed is H pyramids. As you maybe know, I have master's degree in demography, so half of my study I looked on this plot. So what is H pyramids plot? everyone knows, is graphical illustrations that shows us how the population looks in a specific point. It can be done based on current population, or you also can use H pyramid for predicted population. So basically, it's two bar charts, usually male on the left and female on the right, and it shows for each age group what percentage of population was in each group. And it's classically in different population, it was usually very symmetric, and it went from very white base to sharp point and then. So this pyramid is from United States Census from 2000, population of US, and you can see the population was very symmetric. So actually there are different types of H pyramid. The first pyramid is classical analytics. Classical pyramid is basically say that there is high birth rates and potentially lower high expectancy. So we have a lot of kids, but in older age, people die faster, or younger. This stationary pyramid is it shows the approximately similar distribution in old age in every group. Yeah, so you have a lot of kids and relatively a lot of people in older age, and mortality is not so high. And the last pyramid shows us lower birth rate and high life expectancy. So if you not take into account immigration, for example, in developed countries, most of pyramids of developed countries will look like the red pyramid, where the birth rates are dropping and older population life expectancy is going up, and a lot of people in older age still alive. And there is a lot of economical and other implications of this. So basically, you can use it on current population. The H pyramid, even it's simple, it can help you to develop different policies and understand how population is changing. But also you can use H pyramid not just for population analysis, but for different analysis. For example, if you compare in two groups, treatment and control group, extend doing simple bar plot when one near another, you can do H pyramid, and it's give you better visualization to comparing of the group. And here I give its example. So when I came to Canada, I worked from Jewish Federation of Greater Vancouver, and they did attitudes and practices about member survey. So it was simple survey that was sent to people based on a stratified sample based on census division. The response rate was not very high. So here I actually decided to use H pyramid for something different. So the question was, which community activities to different groups of Jewish population support? And on the right side, you say different activity, like having friends, donating to charity, and it's divided to two groups, white denominational and non-denominational. So basically what it means, denominational group is someone that belongs to some kind of type of synagogue, and non-denominational, it's like spiritual or people that not going to synagogue, and there's some difference. So basically, in this case, the H pyramid, it's not presented in a classical demographical type, but you can use it to compare two groups, and it's much easier to understand as a representation. So where the data H pyramids can be used, it can be used in public health, identify groups with higher risk for certain diseases, or it can help us to allocate medical resources. It can be used in economics to understand like workflows or predict future market trends, and can be used in your urban planning, forecast what infrastructure or how many schools we need to build, how to not have housing crisis and stuff like this, and of course in marketing. So basically, in my opinion, those three, there's a lot of different and very cool visualization tools, but I think those are very simple tools that can help you to tell a story in a very concise and simple way. So here to summarize, I want to summarize it, in my opinion, what are good data visualization principles when we telling a story. It is accurate and it's grouped in comprehensive and honest. It's accurate and it's grounded on comprehensive research. So basically, we did good research and we represent good validated data. It is practical and it offers precise representation of the data. It's also pleasing to both scientists and general public, so it can be aesthetically pleasing. So we're looking on it and it's pleasing for us to look on it. And it's revealing and uncovering evidence that might otherwise go unnoticed. And it also can lead us to positive change perspective, or it will make us to ask new questions, like we understand what's going on, but based on that visualization we present, we can see where we want to go. That's it. Thank you. So are there any questions?
Thank you, Sabina. That was awesome. I had more of a comment. I really like that concept of it's enlightening to use data visualization. That diagram of the island you had earlier in your presentation, how visualization helps us to ask more questions and actually reach out further into the area, reality of knowledge. Yeah, that was really insightful for me. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and the book is very, I read the first book about data visualization. I think I did a course on Coursera, and in one of the courses, someone recommended this book. So it's basically explaining about data visualization, but he mentioned this book. So I read about book, but unfortunately, I still didn't read the physicist book, but I think it should be for scientists. It can be very provoking and interesting because it's kind of help us to say, we work a lot, we accumulate a lot of knowledge, but what we're doing with this knowledge and how we asking the new questions. Yeah, it's very cool. Thanks.
Any questions for Sabina?
There's no questions. Yeah, there's questions, guys. It's not no one asking questions. So basically, like I said, I'm not an expert in data visualization. Yes, but if you want to present some data of questions, I still work a lot with the data and I know a lot. So you can, if you have analysis you do, question you want to answer and visualize it, you can come to me or come for consultation. And I help you. I'll help my best based on my expertise and experience to present data the best way you could. But for me, I think you shouldn't oversimplify, but the data visualization should tell the story. So basically, you present it, you look on it, and understand what's saying without words. Yes, words are very important, as it says in the book, and I said in the beginning. We put data visualization in our paper, and we going to write about it in our results section. So we kind of connecting words with visualization. But generally, data visualization should be like this, that you look at it and you can tell only one story. If your data visualization say, I come to the room, I show some visualization and say, oh, guys, what you can tell me which story? And if any in our room will say different story, it means it's kind of not the best data visualization. So data visualization, as I showed in 3 examples, especially hockey stick, you look on it and say, oh, something happened in this year, what it is, and you can read more about it. So it's encourage you to learn more, but it's also very simple, and it show you only one story. There is not a lot of different stories. So I think for simple data visualization or more complicated, it's whatever I said about visualization in a different way, I think it can summarize it. Yeah. So I read the question first. Are those data visualization types? Yes. I think I use R more, less, but I'm pretty sure you can do it in R. Yeah, so I think R would have it. Python for sure will have it. And SAS will have it, but in SAS you need sometimes to work a lot to create your data to plot it. I think R is like for data visualization from statistical point of view, I think R is the best. Also, for example, I showed Sankey plot. You can build, I did it, I couldn't present it here because the data is not published yet. So basically, you can build Sankey plot in R, send it to Shiny, so it will be interactive. You click on it and it show you how many people went there, where, so you can kind of go. So R, I think, would be the best in data visualization. So for example, I prefer to do my analysis in SAS, but sometimes if I need cool visualization, I just take my data to R and do visualization in R. And also, ChatGPT is a great tool. I would not encourage students to use it, but ChatGPT can help you to choose right software. Yeah, so you're looking for specific plot. For example, recently I did data analysis. I did three comparison, like 2D plot, something with something. But after that, I built a generalized addictive model and I wanted to do a 3D plot. I don't have any idea how to build 3D plot in R. So I went to ChatGPT and it's give me some kind of code for 3D plot. I modified it and I got what I want. So I not encourage you to use ChatGPT for studies, of course, but if you want to explore data visualization, it can be additional tool to help you what you need. But in terms of software, I plotted something in Python. Maybe there is no new packages, but for me it was like very confusing and a lot of steps needed to be taken to plot something. SAS, for example, if you go to R plots and heat map, you use the package to give you heat map. In SAS, I have 5 pages macro to creating the data sets in specific way to use specific graphical tool to build it. Yeah, so I think if you know R, there's a lot of interest in visualization. And I know before I worked in kidney transplantation, so for example, if you know what epitopes allele as and antibodies, so actually in R, we plotted like we did very cool like diagrams. So for me, I said you can print it and put it on the poster in your room, how appealing it is. And it was done in R.
The question, you know, the Napoleon graph where it shows like the troops and where they traveled, like, is there a way or how would it work? Like now if we take an airplane, I reckon like those people walked. If like they flew, like how, is there a way to like put that on a graph?
Yeah, you can put whatever you want. Yeah, so for example, you can take airplanes going from YVR somewhere, yeah, and you can show flow to airplane, like where it's going for each destination, how many. You can do it by airlines, you can do it probably by number of people per destination. Yeah, it can be applicable for anything. And it's really like Sankey diagram, it's really easy to build in R. You just need to structure that in specific way based on frequencies. For Sankey diagram, there are actually a lot of available free online tools that you just pull your data in specific way and you give it a plot. But the problem with it for the free version, so basically it's any like tool or cloud, it's using your data. So data it's not yours and your final product, your Sankey diagram will be published. If you want it to be unpublished and unavailable for everyone, you need to buy a license and it will be very expensive. So I think like for Sankey, R would be the best tool to do. And recently today, I don't know if you attended the WHRI research round, today we showed a paper that had very cool like 3-point Sankey diagram. It was very interesting. It's much easier to understand that simple flowchart because it shows this is how many people come and diagnose, this is what we did, and this is how we diagnosed them. So it shows how the people flow through the health system, basically.
It's so cool.
I think did we answer the question about, there's a question about any books or tools that can be used to help write code in R?
Like I use ChatGPT for everything. Like I say, this is a SAT code. I put like, oh, this is a SAT. So basically, I recently had like requests for specific, like we decided to publish in specific journal. So before finalizing statistical analysis, I asked to send me example papers of the same subject from this journal. So I got the papers, I was reviewing them, and unfortunately in the paper, it didn't say exactly why specific model it was chosen and what was the model. Yeah, but I was lucky because they had GitHub code, like linked to the GitHub library. So I took the R code, I put it in ChatGPT. It says based on the code, the author, which models they use, and it told me which model it will be. So it was the only way for me to figure out what they actually did. Yeah, like I understood the code, but because I'm not expert in R, I don't know all packages. I couldn't understand what distribution, like for what distributions they use, and it gave me. There is a lot of books, like if you want to learn R, for example, there is I like Harvard DX more than Coursera. So Harvard DX is basically online courses from Harvard. You don't need to pay to take the course. You only pay a lot of money to get certificate. So if you don't want a certificate, it's a relatively easy, interesting tools to learn R. So I usually don't use book. Whatever I need, I put in Google and ChatGPT. The only problem with ChatGPT, you need to understand the answer. So it's not necessarily give you the correct answer. For example, if I ask specific question like to plot something in statistic, I know exactly how it's supposed to look. So it cannot create me something incorrect. And in a lot of cases, it's giving you incorrect information. So I use Google a lot. I don't use books. And my learning is usually through the project. So for example, if I take a course in R, I might remember something, but I'll forget 3 minutes. But if I do from the beginning to end project in R, during in the process of doing the project, I would learn much more. So I learn through the experience. But Harvard DX had also DataCamp. DataCamp is you need to pay for it. Before it was like $600 a year. So it's like teaching you R from one step and another. It gives you very small exercises. You go through it and you build in your capacity. But this format didn't work for me because I only can work like when I do something. But like if you starting, it can be good tool. For example, once I did the Sankey plot in R, but I wanted to put it in Shiny. Yes. So I Googled, it took me some time to debug it and figure out how to put it in. But for R is any other software, like SAS is better because you pay for the last license. The documentation is extensive. Like you can find in the documentation anything. But for R, like for packages I didn't know, reading the documentation about the packages with examples can help a lot. You even don't need the book. If you want, I should have somewhere a book in R for data science and Python for data science, very simple book. You can contact me. I have it in PDF. I can send it. It's decent, but it's not like the best in the world. But if you want to learn basic, it will be very good. About data visualization, I don't know because I mostly use like relatively simple data visualization. So the regular packages works.
Okay, thank you, Sabina. So I think we'll conclude that session. That was really great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Reminder to everyone, the next one, the third one is on August 9th, and it'll be on science communication again at noon. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.